Thank you for joining us wherever you are. This podcast episode is brought to you by the Old Ways Actual Play team. This actual play uses the 7th edition Call of Cthulhu tabletop role-playing game rules by Chaosium. This actual play is performed by adults and in an adult setting. While we try very hard to stick to language for all ages, listeners should know that this podcast may include mature themes. All content, including names, places, events, companies, and etc., that may bear resemblance to entities living or dead, is strictly coincidental. My name is Michael Diamond, and for tonight's game, I will be your keeper. Thank you for joining us again on another episode of the Old Ways podcast. I'm your keeper, Keeper Michael, and we return to Masks of Nyarlathotep in our Kenya chapter. As we always like to do, we'd like to thank you, the listener, and especially you, the Patreon supporter. If you've not had a chance to check out what we have to offer on Patreon, you can at patreon.com/theoldwayspodcast. Also, check us out on YouTube, give us a subscribe, and make sure you are liking videos and paying attention because we are running contests and giveaways and all sorts of fun stuff, live events, etc. And now we're going to get to introductions. So to my right.
This is Morgan. I play Lillian Lane, and I got caught lying last episode.
You did. It's about time your constantly white trifling ass has been caught. I'm so super happy about that. At the end of the table.
This is Jake. I'm playing Jack Doyle, and I am surrounded by lies. And Nairobi is built on a foundation of lies.
Well, the colonial part of it sure is. To Mr. Doyle's right.
This is Robert Drummond, otherwise known as Lonnie, and my tongue got all tangled up somewhere in there, but at least I didn't tell anybody a lie. Yeah.
Well, if there was any place to get your tongue tied, it would be Kenya. There's a lot of that going around here. To Mr. Drummond's right.
This is James, and I'll be playing Dr. Sigmund Huttenbach, and it was good to get to roll up my sleeves and do some good old-fashioned doctor work for once on people I don't know.
Right, you got to play with the flesh of all new bodies. Last but most certainly not least.
This is Alex playing Sam Ballon, who will refrain in the future from asking the person he needs to meet with themselves.
Yeah, always a good rule to stand by. We are in the missing Maeve O'Shea formation. She is currently communing with the father of serpents. We'll get back to her at a later date. As we raise the curtain tonight, our investigators have collected themselves back at Hampton House, and they are going to get a chance to interact and talk about all of the interesting information they've collected last, and then hopefully find a pathway through. So we pick it up at Hampton House. It's about 3 p.m. or so, and the bar is fairly quiet except for our investigators.
What have we found out?
Well, we had an interesting chat with the local physician. Interesting man. Values honesty. He did say that he did the autopsy on the Carlisle bodies. Only here's the rub. He is certain that those were not Caucasian individuals that he autopsied the parts of. He does not think that they were the Carlisle expedition at all.
Well, I mean, we kind of knew that, didn't we?
Well, we have to at this point, yeah. But he also said that what had happened to them with the bodies was supernatural, and that he had the young woman that was with them, that was ill, he was giving her opium in a lotion form for something that she had, some sort of infection. He was vague but disturbed by the whole ordeal, so I think we can draw our own conclusions there, yeah?
Mm-hmm. That kind of tracks with what we've already known.
Indeed.
I talked to Roger Corden, the undersecretary, and he stuck to the official story, but he was lying. He knew he was lying. So they knew what was going on.
Well, even if they didn't know exactly what was going on, they definitely knew that they were going to cover it up.
Yeah.
in surprisingly transparent fashion, Johnstone Kenyatta is an impressive man. Unflappable, I would say, in the face of the danger the cult represents, and a no-nonsense understanding of Elias's work. I may have mistakenly asked him to see himself personally, which kind of blew my cover, but he was quick to understand the circumstances of our meeting. He wants to meet at a restaurant in Swahili Town, where he says we can talk privately, a local hangout of Kikuyu nationals, and I have been instructed to encourage any of you to check any colonial dispositions at the door. But if we do want to meet, he is expecting us at 5 o'clock. So I would suggest that we do our best to arrive promptly. And given what he seems to know and his interest in our situation, I think it's worth it to be candid. He seems eager, or at least willing, to engage with us directly regarding the cult and our investigation.
Well, that's good news.
It's news.
Well, any help is good at this point.
He has also promised a great meal, so I told him that I didn't want to talk details without the group present.
Yeah, that way we can all get the information at once.
I did let him know that I am aware of the fact that the cult is directly responsible for what happened on that train. I didn't necessarily mention our involvement, but that they'd left their mark.
Keeper Mike, what's the what time of day is it?
As stated just previously, it is a little after 3 p.m.
Okay, so we should probably get ready to go to dinner.
Yeah, whenever you're ready to go, I'm pretty familiar with where the place is in Swahili Town, so I can make sure we get there.
So I'll ask the group then, is anyone doing or preparing anything specific for their journey to dinner in Swahili Town?
Did he happen to mention what sort of dress to wear?
Nope.
I'm going to assume downscale would be good here. Something that doesn't look colonial.
No, but I am definitely wearing my drape so that I can conceal my shotgun.
Okay. Fair enough. Anybody else making any specific preparations or concessions?
Nope.
Lillian, how are you dressing?
Yeah, I will be dressing down for this,
Pants?
for this party.
No, dressing down for Lillian is a dress.
That's true.
Pants are
Yeah.
dressing up. So.
Yeah. No, I will still. I'll put on a white button-up blouse and some tan pants and.
Okay. Go after the Miriam Ravenwood sort of outfit.
Khaki cargos.
Hatchet in the boot.
It's been a while, actually. I'll do the curved blade though.
Oh yeah.
Boot. And I will probably try to put a little powder on my face where I got wounded.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably going to leave a scar, but I'll try to hide that a little bit.
Okay.
I'll leave the camera back at the hotel.
That is probably a smart plan, Robert. So we'll say half an hour or so, 45 minutes-ish. It'll take everyone to get ready. But after that, it's really a little bit of biding your time until you head over to Swahili Town again. And you actually get a bit of interesting environmentals. Probably something the doctor would take a specific interest in. You get to see the movement of people when it comes to closing time in the industrial space. Industrial area sits between the hotel and Swahili Town. And so while you're walking basically across the face of this big industrial space, the bell goes off for the end of the workday. And this is probably something most of you are familiar with hearing, these sort of industrial spaces that are used for several hours, 10, 12 hours at a time, and then eventually they close for the evening. You get to see a wave of humanity as people end their day and come back to their homes. They sort of spread out. There's an awful lot of people that head in with you to Swahili Town. Common everyday folk. And you also get the unfortunate perception, the event of seeing their work foremen and workshop owners watch them leave in sort of elevated positions like on decks and rail cars or from office windows. And there's something a little bit inside, Doctor, that reminds you, I don't know, it's not a pleasant feeling, a memory of home that you've had before, but there's a real sort of ownership feeling that grosses you out.
This probably reminds Sigmund of his father being a mercantile owner, I believe, business owner, very much had the arms crossed, watch every nickel and dime walk in and out of the door, kind of a, this is not what, this is humanity at its best and its worst for the Doc.
The nice part, especially for those of you who are watching the wave of people, is that these people here still somehow have joy. There is still hope here. However precious it may still be to foster, the people are still holding on that they're making a difference, that they're feeding their families. They haven't completely lost hope. Arrival in Swahili Town is accompanied by many workers. And the workers spill out into the local residential areas, and that also includes many of the shops and restaurants. There's probably 2 or maybe 3 sort of community restaurants that you see. Some of them are nothing more than just a half of a building that has a stove in it, and there are 4 or 5 different bar seats that sit at a half, basically a cutout window in the side of the building where they serve food, and people sit in tables or chairs or just sit right along the boardwalk of sorts that's here, this wood boardwalk that lines some of these buildings. But you eventually find your way, Sam, to this restaurant.
On the way there, I did want to have a short talk with the group, specifically Jack. So about this tea shop that you had mentioned, I'm not sure what's going to happen after our talk with Kenyatta, but assuming that we have to follow up there, do you know where this place is or what it's called?
No, I don't. I just know the owner of it.
I guess when we get a chance to find out more, we'll find out more, but I'm guessing we're going to want to watch it for a time.
Yeah, I mean, see who comes and goes. Maybe the individual that you've seen a couple of times will turn up there.
Can hope so.
So the restaurant, it looks like it's fairly busy. The restaurant here actually has an interior space with tables, and there seems to be a bar that sits along one side. It looks like a fairly traditional restaurant setup. But the sights and smells in this place are very intense. The music here is performed by locals who've taken to bringing some of their own instruments in, and there's a makeshift stage on one side of the restaurant, and there's all sorts of these tribal instruments being played, drums, certain wooden percussion instruments, that sort of thing. And then there's this a song that is being lifted up here by them. It's not overpowering by any means, but you're not used to there being natural music in a space. Usually when you go into a hotel, there's a gramophone or something like that playing something on a shellac record. This is different. There's an energy and almost like a simmering energy that sits around the ground level and sort of bubbles up through all of the furniture and the air that you interact with in the room. A bright young man steps forward, Sam, and he has a black shirt on and a uniform pair of pants. They look like maybe they were rescued from some other place. They don't look like they're restaurant pants at all. They look maybe like were once military pants, and he's just wearing them.
Love it.
And he says, "Good evening." He smiles in a really big, wide smile. He greets you in Swahili.
Okay. So even like Sam knows that it's a pretty serious circumstances they're meeting under, but he's going to do his best to match their energy and kind of the jovial. Like, he doesn't want to be a sourpuss in this place. Like, these people are just getting off of work. So he'll definitely brighten up and kind of say, thank you, good afternoon. We'll greet him in Swahili. We're actually here to meet someone who's waiting for us. Could you show us to Mr. Kenyatta's table? And I will offer him a hand with a couple pounds in it.
He nods. Most generous, of course. So right this way. He sort of steps lively, and he does this odd sort of dance. You've seen other restaurants that are, we'll just say, high traffic.
Mm-hmm.
He has a way about moving through the space here that doesn't give up any unneeded energy. So when he moves through the crowd, he doesn't slow down. He doesn't look back.
So what I will do is I will kind of wave the party forward and kind of herd them toward him. Because I'm guessing we're going to have to kind of travel single file through here. So,
oh, definitely.
So yeah, I'll make it very obvious that like they're with me and that we're together and that, everybody's happy, and we will continue moving through the space.
Okay.
And if Robert doesn't look happy, I will elbow him.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean,
what did I ever say to make me think I'm unhappy?
You seem unhappy.
You get brought into a side room. The side room is no bigger than, say, maybe 5 by 10, but it's in equal quarter of the size of the main restaurant space. There's a long table, probably seats 8, that is set up, and back in here, you can feel the musical space that you come from sort of fades into the background, and there's a little bit of a din. At the end of this table, there's a man, a well-dressed man in a suit, and he stands up and folds his hands sort of in front of him. He doesn't cross his arms, but just sort of folds his hands and waits for the rest of you to come in. The boy asks the man, who you all would assume, well, most of you would assume is Kenyatta, if they can start, and Kenyatta says, yes, please let us eat. That's in Swahili, so only Sam picks that up.
In order, just so that he knows that I'm me, I will, when we enter the room, when our eyes meet, I will give him the same half-hearted police salute that he gave me.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah, he smiles, and he says in English, "Please, all of you, come sit. It's so good to have you here."
Go and sit down.
Take a load off.
I'm Johnstone Kenyatta. I'm told by your associate Sam, we have some very serious things to discuss.
Indeed. I'm Jack Doyle, Robert Drummond, Lillian Lane, Dr. Sigmund Tottenbach.
Oh, the doctor even. Wonderful.
And of course, Sam.
Just very briefly, yes, but we did meet. Miss Lane, I find it fascinating that someone of, your title and breeding would be here.
You've heard of my family?
I've heard of you.
Oh. May I ask in what manner?
I'm not an uneducated man. I'm familiar with many of the trappings of what society here uses to perpetuate cycles, one of being art.
Is there a water pitcher?
Yeah, there's a water pitcher.
I'm definitely filling and just drinking heavily, just kind of just choking down some water.
Well, I can't say that I've heard of you, Mr. Kenyatta.
He smiles broadly. Perfectly understandable. Most of the world has no idea what goes on in Kenya, let alone the people who might one day seek to solve its problems.
Well, I look forward to discussing that more and hearing more about you.
Well, where should we begin?
Well, you did mention that we would have a chance to eat, so maybe before we get to the nasty parts of our discussion, we can talk about lighter things.
Certainly. It cannot all be business, yes? Can I get each of you something to drink, perhaps? The food is coming. It will take a little until it is prepared.
Well, actually, Robert here was curious about where you were educated.
Well, as far as my education goes, I did have a fairly diverse education. I would just say that my father did his best to make sure that I had everything that was necessary. I was educated mostly at a mission school. But I do have plans to travel abroad at some point.
Oh, I had just wondered if you had already been abroad and come back, or if you...
No, my work keeps me here. So there's something that the rest of you, actually all of you, pick up on. Kenyatta speaks near perfect English. It's almost, I don't want to say grating, it is almost too exacting. He's really well spoken. He carries the English language really easily. I think it's an important question, though. It's important to know where someone comes from, how they have grasped the ideals, morals, historical views. Where were you educated, Robert?
I attended a small college in the eastern seaboard of the United States. Since then, I've lived in Shanghai.
Well, I can only imagine a wide swath of humanity to learn from.
And yet I know almost nothing.
Well, there is nothing like the opportunity to spoil good opportunities, right? Miss Lane, I can only imagine that your education is likely in some lofty university. I would assume your parents would not allow anything less.
I graduated from Miskatonic University. Not sure if you've heard.
I have, actually. I've met someone before who went to Miskatonic University. So they say.
Oh, really?
Well,
And
certainly.
who might they be?
Oh, Sam and I were speaking about them earlier today, Jackson Elias.
Oh, yes. I knew Mr. Elias.
My condolences to you.
Yes, he was a dear friend. And
I remember meeting him. A story for perhaps later. Mr. Doyle, I get the feeling that you were educated on the field of battle.
Oh, yes. Though I did progress fairly far in my education. I went to a Catholic school, and there was some desire from several people for me to eventually go into the priesthood, so I was given a rather well-rounded education.
I believe it's very important to have a well-rounded education. I can only imagine your doctor agrees with us.
Well, absolutely. I was educated in various places. My medical training was done in the University of Heidelberg in Germany.
Interesting.
But I also like to think of myself as a student of the world, you know.
Yes, I believe it is important to be a student of the world lest you be schooled by the world. Well, the food comes in. A couple servers bring these sort of large oval plates. They set about 4 of them between the 8-person table, and it does not take Kenyatta long to urge you all to begin trying some of the local food.
Duck digs in with gusto.
This is probably the first time that the group has seen Sam not hesitate to eat what is offered.
You do see some stuff that you've had before, right? So you see that doctor, that dish that had fish in it is here as well.
Oh,
That you had before. There's flatbread. There's some boiled corn here. There's Actually, honestly, it's different, obviously, than some of the food that you're used to. But there's a real wonderful blend of like local Kenyan food, and there's also a bit of Asian cuisine mixed in here. There's a fairly large Asian population, as well as some Indian food here. So you get some Indian food mixed into this as well.
You'd mentioned your father.
Yes.
In regards to what we were dealing with as far as these organizations, these cults are concerned.
He leans forward. What of them?
Well, I suppose, what can you tell us?
He takes a moment and sort of studies each one of you visually. The old ways are cruel, and my knowledge of them is imperfect, but more than 20 years ago, I fled my home, where I had heard many such stories of the cult of the Bloody Tongue. My grandfather was a great Mirogi, a diviner. I have tried to leave that world behind and to enter yours. He motions a bit with his head towards you, Miss Lane. It's ironic that as I strain towards your heritage, I reach towards mine. Much of what Elias spoke of, I did not fully understand at the time. Even more, I find hard to believe. But taking the judge of you and hearing with such the intensity that you spoke of earlier, Sam, I think there may be something to all of you, even if this picture of you is incomplete. Perhaps traces of my grandfather cling to me. The cult of the Bloody Tongue is a ravenous beast on our land. They have come into our villages before. They have taken whom they like for their dark rites. During the dark moon, they have left corpses before. Our people have gone into the hills. They have tried to root them out. But somehow, some way, they always seem to find a way to come back.
It's our belief that they're just one group of many, perhaps, of a number of different appendages to the same monster, if you will. In Shanghai, in London, in America.
It is certainly possible. I have seen them move here. When I spoke with Elias, I still feel in my heart that he felt doomed. He spoke to me as if his future was already written. He spoke of needing to head back to New York, to America. He was concerned that something would slip, that some fate would befall him. It is unfortunate to hear that he is dead.
Perhaps you'd be interested to know that it was actually the cult of the Bloody Tongue that killed him.
He seems to furrow his brow. He doesn't... Your words, Jack, like hit him. They affect him. Pushes his meal plate aside. I already fight one sickness in this land. A second turns my stomach.
Well, perhaps you won't have to fight it. We've come here to dig it out by its roots.
He raises an eyebrow. You will, of course, permit me some concern, some question of an external hero coming to save Kenya.
Well, to be fair, we're not here to save Kenya.
No?
No, it's a little bigger than that.
So, then I would ask you, what can you tell me of this cult?
Are you familiar with the Carlisle expedition?
Yes, I was young when they came through, but I have heard the tales of the expedition, its people as they came through, the fate that befell them, the questions thereafter.
Yes, well, we have verifiable proof that the Carlisle expedition did not die out in the wilderness.
Really?
Yes.
Well, I wish the tribesmen that they had so erroneously charged with murder and then hung were still alive to see that.
Well, unfortunately, we know that the government covered up what actually happened.
Well, we wouldn't want to sully a beautiful picture of His Majesty's colony with something like murder.
But we believe that somewhere that the Carlisle expedition were heading to the source of this cult. And that they may have actually found it and are helping push the cult's agenda.
The expedition.
Yes. Or some of it, at least.
What sort of depraved person would help this cult?
Well, depraved is a good word for it. In Egypt, they struck a bargain with the dark power.
There are many dark powers, many names, but perhaps their purpose is one and the same.
We believe it so.
Very well. I may be able to render you some aid, but not personally. My position here with the KCA is very important. I can't go leading a group of visitors on some merry quest.
Well, that's perfectly understandable. We would not ask you to.
What would you ask of me then?
If you could provide us some, or at least point us in the direction of some trustworthy guides.
Well, then I would ask you, how much are you willing to accept on faith?
I'd say that most of what we do is done on faith.
Very well. I can assist you with the path, leading you to a man who can show you the next portion. If you are willing, you should meet with the great Bandari. I did not send Elias to him. Elias seemed he was already set on a path, and I could not burden my friend with such a difficult gift. But he looks at you, Sam. Your destinies are unfinished. Perhaps you still have great victories yet to live for. Or perhaps you too will undergo tragedies and befall a fate worse than mortal man. Only time can tell.
I put my water down and I paused for a moment. You asked what we'd be able to accept on faith. I didn't come to know these investigators until after Jackson's death. My education, if you will, didn't come from an academy or a rectory. I was raised a survivor, and only through Jackson's good graces and patience did I gain anything resembling an education. He helped me find purpose, and in return, I helped him root out and exterminate some of these demons where they take root. But this group helped me move away from vengeance to find something bigger, to find something better. And I have faith in what we're doing. And I have faith in your desire to see Nairobi freed of this cult's interference so that you can do what needs to be done for your people. So any help you can give us.
I may be able to lend you some assistance, as I said, in finding the man who can truly open your eyes.
That's enough.
But I would not ask my friend to meet with you at such an hour as now. He is an elderly man.
Of course not.
And while he may not say it himself, I believe his time here is short. But he is not far. What can you tell me of the fire at the Nairobi Star?
I suspect we're being watched.
Followed.
And hunted.
And I believe that that fire at the Nairobi Star was started by a sorcerer in league with the occult.
A sorcerer?
Hmm.
Something out of Arabian Nights.
Not quite, but very dangerous.
And in here, in Nairobi, the locals, well, the colonials would call that a witch doctor. He sort of gives you a real big grin and his eyes get wide. Of course, I would never say that myself because we treat such terms as disrespectful. Medicine men have been with our people for countless centuries.
The cult is capable of weaponizing various skills and rituals, capable of calling down living flame and having it do their bidding. They've done it before. They will likely do it again. It seems, at least here, a tool of preference for them.
Interesting. Perhaps this would make sense, given some of their tactics. We've seen them, as I said, we've seen reports of them going into our villages and taking our people.
It would require an enormous amount of power to do what they do, and it would be taxing for one person, but things like sacrifice could fuel such monstrosities for a time.
You must definitely speak with Wandari then.
Just so that you know, we won't stop until either they're gone or we are. I can only apologize ahead of time for any other lives that are lost in the process.
I don't think it's necessary to apologize just yet.
Speaking of, I don't suppose you are familiar at all with any local tea purveyors.
There are several.
An Indian woman.
You see Kenyatta narrow his eyes. Tankur?
Yes. We believe she's in league with the cult.
Now, her tea is much sought after, but her methods have been questioned by locals before.
Well, I'm not prepared to make an accusation as of yet, but it would help if we could figure out where to look.
Oh, the Asian Quarter. She has a shop there.
Have to pay her a visit.
I can only tell you my experiences with her, just as indirect as they have been. She has, on occasion, been known to provide certain teas to the populace, which could be considered addictive. I can tell you this. I know that she spoke with one of the expedition.
Visited him several times, it appears.
Yes. This, he sort of taps his fingers, his thumb with his forefinger and middle finger together in sort of this almost raptorish type of tapping because of his nails. He says, Penyu.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
They spoke several times.
We know of Mr. Penyu.
The late unlamented Mr. Penhue.
I will tell you also that my people do not sample or buy her tea.
Probably a good thing.
Her shop in the Asian Quarter is not hard to find. It is one of the most fragrant around. It's on Bishara Street.
I nod to him and nod to Jack as well. I can't thank you enough.
Tomorrow, someone will pay you a visit at the hotel. All I can say is do whatever they ask.
Yes, sir.
If you seek to uncover this truth behind this tea woman, I would see to it before too long.
Is there anybody else in town that we should be particularly worried about?
Take your pick. How many Englishmen can you count?
Actually, I wouldn't know at this point. To ask you to help us figure out where to take refuge, but I don't know who else we would ask. I wouldn't dare suggest staying in Swahili Town. I would hate to put anyone here in danger, but these people are brazen, bold even.
It is their homeland. Yes? All of Jackson's notes that he prattled on about had found that this cult, its homeland is here. It is in this country.
Yes.
They are most brave here because this is home.
Who are they afraid of?
That is an excellent question. Perhaps someday you. Unless there is anything else, I am going to retire for the evening.
Thank you for a wonderful meal.
And thank you for being open enough to accept it.
What time is it now?
It's probably, by this time, it's probably about 7 o'clock.
Is the light out?
No, it's not still light out by 7 o'clock.
What?
Well, it might
Well,
be.
depending on the time of year.
It's like May, isn't it?
Yeah, it's roughly May.
Would it be too much to ask when you think this person would be arriving at the hotel so that we can make sure that our people are prepared?
They walk on their own clock, my friend.
Very well.
My guess would be it would be after midday or afternoon.
I understand.
He sees you out, at least into the sort of entry space of the restaurant, and then, if willing, shakes each of your hands,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
and then wishes you the best of luck.
I fear that your mission may be even more difficult than ours. So good luck to you as well.
I have a long road to walk, but I have many people to walk it. You are now back out in the streets of Swahili Town. What's the group's sort of idea about what it would do with the rest of the night? What comes next?
I think if we're going to be meeting with someone at an unknown time tomorrow, we should just go back to the hotel at least and make sure that Maeve is going to be ready for whatever happens tomorrow. If we're going to be seeing some ancient man with ancient wisdom on faith.
Indeed. So, did you want to check out the tea house, or we want to wait till tomorrow?
Well, I see no reason as to why I couldn't do a little light watching for the evening, but I don't want to do much more than that, because if it is down to them, well, like you said, right? It's about time we went on the offensive, and I want to know how to set a trap.
Very good.
Excellent. So the group will head back towards the hotel, and then Sam, you're going to do a little recon work on the tea house.
Oh, yeah. And I will be attempting to do some of my best.
Okay. I mean, I'd assume it wouldn't be your worst, but that makes sense to me.
Like we're gonna blow London out of the water.
Oh, well, that's good, because things got fucked up in London
Well, yeah. That wasn't on me.
and Egypt and Shanghai. No. Okay. So I'm not going to bother asking you to make a stealth roll at this point, because I already know you're going to be stealthing, and your stealth is over 80, right?
My stealth is 95.
Yeah, so unlikely, unless you're contested, you're actually going to need to roll for the most part. By the time you get over towards the Asian Quarter, the tea house, this place looks like it's closed. The tea shop has a very recognizable front door and a side door, and both are shut.
You said it was closed by the time we get there?
Yep.
Okay. So as far as my notes are concerned, I'm going to be noting anything that I can about time of day, phase of the moon, depending on how long I have. I mean, like, this is just one night, obviously, but this is my plan going forward, depending on how long we're going to have to watch this place. But starting with night 1, I want to get an understanding of the layout of the building, all of the different approaches that are there, and I'll just watch it for the night. I want to see when it opens, and I want to see who shows up and like what the morning business looks like before I go back to the hotel.
Okay. So you want to stay up all night?
Oh yeah. I will stop at the nearest open vendor, and I will grab the most pungent coffee I can. I will brew myself a nice. I will fill both of my vacuum tubes with dark, thick black coffee, and I'll get some snacks.
Okay. So I guess I'm going to have you make a Constitution roll.
Okay. Is it a busy area?
Not at this point of night, no.
Oh, okay. Sure. Constitution. It's a 16 out of 65. Oh, that's only 3 points off. I'm going to spend 3 luck to make that an extreme, right?
Okay. So you and the coffee power through the entire night. The reason why there's a con roll is you just came from dinner. So like you have a reasonably full stomach, and now you're trying to stay up late. But you manage. And you manage pretty well. You find a shop nearby that basically is abandoned because it's a space for rent. And you find a way to like sort of just tuck into a little nook by it and hang out. The alleys here are barely wide enough to fit a person down. But they're just wide enough for you to like find a place to chill. And you watch. And you watch. And now I'll have you make a stealth roll.
It is a 24 out of 95. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, it's not. It's pretty close to extreme, but it's not.
It would have to be a 19, so no.
Right.
Not extreme, but pretty good.
Really, the power through moment for you is the morning when this district starts waking up. And the neighboring buildings around the tea house are active. So you are sitting in this nook doing surveillance. And in the early morning hour, it must be 5 or so, you see a person you've seen before.
No.
And this short little person, this little woman, not feeble by any means, but short, she walks towards the front of the tea house, walks by the front of it, down the side of it, and unlocks the side door, does something, and walks into the house. She has a lot of rings on. She has a headdress.
It's the head wrap, yeah.
And she walks right in.
How sure am I?
I mean, you're pretty sure. You've seen this person twice. Once in the dark, on top of a train, as it flew forward at 70 miles an hour, and you had at least somewhat of a look in the firelight. And 2, you saw her across the sort of courtyard or the open square area by the Nairobi Star, just moments before the building gets hit.
But this time I actually see her through the field glasses.
Yeah.
All right. I really regret not bringing my rifle now, but that's okay. She'll live today. I bite down hard and I keep watching as much as I want to go in there and be very angry.
Okay. You do so.
I would like to, however, at some point in the morning, I'm going to walk outside, and I don't care where I have to get it from. I'm stealing a bucket of water from somebody.
I mean, you can get a bucket of water.
I get a bucket of water, and I just keep it next to me the whole time. I put my feet in it. Okay, that's what keeps me awake for the rest of the morning.
You stand in a cold bucket of water. Not even cold, probably tepid.
Just seething, steaming. No, I'll watch. I want to see what the morning traffic looks like. I want to see who is coming in here. Are they patrons? Are they people? Are they?
They're definitely people. They're definitely people that she does regular business with.
Okay.
And as far as foot traffic goes, quite a bit. She has a super, super hopping business. Her morning rush is probably a good 2 hours straight. And a lot of the people that are lining up to get orders, and the biggest thing I can kin it to, honestly, in present day is like people queuing for Starbucks. She has like a line out the door easily.
Wow.
And I'm going to give you a hard spot hidden roll now.
33 under 85. I think that's hard.
A couple of people that are entering her shop, probably 2 or 3 over a couple of hours here in the morning, wear red headbands.
Distinctly red headbands?
Yep.
Okay.
Distinctly. They're in the shop for a little while, and then they leave.
Can I tell if I don't know if they're dressed the same or if it's just the head wrap or the headband. But can I tell if they're armed?
They're visibly armed with like hunting knives or that sort of thing. It's not uncommon for people to have workers, especially, to have tools or
Sure.
to have knives.
I just don't know if do they look dangerous?
I don't know about dangerous,
Or
but
do they just look like they're getting their morning tea?
maybe they're in the shop for a little while.
All right.
At least a little while.
I think around business started at like 5 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, pretty early.
And I want to make sure that I'm back at the hotel and have time to at least relay information before whatever happens. So I will probably depart before noon. I think before people start moving around for, because this is like a merchant area, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I want to avoid lunchtime if I can.
Okay. Are you going to step out of your water bucket?
I'm bringing it with me, but yeah.
Okay. You bring your bucket with you.
Mm-hmm.
You head out, disappearing down an alley, or?
Yeah, I will. I'll take whatever side door is to this abandoned place and worm my way back to the hotel. Just somebody carrying a bucket.
Okay. So you head back to Hampton House. And with that, we're going to call our episode to a close. So thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Masks from Nyarlathotep. Things are getting spicy, and we're hoping you're enjoying the show. So thank you, and good night.